Hey, hey, welcome to I Have Something to Say. Well, I'm really excited because Maddi Niebanck wrote this book, and I spent my weekend reading this book and reading it and reading it and reading it because it has so much encouragement, so much optimism, so much about things I believe in, like goal setting and having the proper mindset. It's just an amazing book. And I'm going to bring on the show Maddie. How's it going?
Hello. Hi, Paul. Thank you so much for having me. I've been really excited to have this conversation with you. And I'm glad that you really liked the book.
Well, it's what's not to like.
I don't know.
What's
I'm
not to like?
happy that it resonated with you. And, that was kind of why I wrote it, is because I wanted, one, to just share my story with stroke recovery and how my recovery has gone, and also like give hope and empower other people who might have similar challenge.
Exactly. Can you tell us a little bit about Maddie pre-stroke? What were you doing?
Yes. So I had my stroke in the end of May 2017, so it was a little over 3 years ago.
Well,
And prior to having my stroke, I was a college student. I was just graduating. I graduated from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. So
yep.
just in May of 2017, I was just having my college graduation and getting all ready to move up and start my first full time job after I finished university. But prior to being able to do that, and I had a job all lined up in Boston I was very excited, which would start in the end of the summer. But first, I had to get brain surgery. And I was like, oh, okay. Honestly, I'll be honest, Paul, I'm not like a type of person who really like stresses too much about things. So I was like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, I'll just go get the brain surgery. Everything will be fine. I'll recover for a couple months and then I'll move up and start my job, right? And so a week after I graduated from college, I went into New York Presbyterian in New York City for a an elective brain surgery. And what happened was one of the preoperative procedures ended up
Mhm.
causing a blood clot, causing a stroke. So I ended up having a an emergency brain surgery for the very thing that was like
Wow.
supposed to prevent. So, I mean, I'm lucky. I'm still here, still kicking.
Yes.
I've made a ton of progress since I woke up completely paralyzed on the left side.
You work completely paralyzed on your left side. So,
Correct.
how did that affect you when you first realized um, I had a stroke and I'm paralyzed? What was the effect?
To be honest, like I wouldn't say that it really hit me. Like when I woke up from the stroke, I'm completely paralyzed on the left side. I can't even move my arm or my hand. I can't walk or any of that. But like it didn't really hit me until I started doing like super intense rehab. And even then, like when I started doing physical therapy, learning how to walk, well, first learning how to sit in a wheelchair, then learning how to use a cane and all that fun stuff, like it didn't really hit me because I think I had in my mind, yes, this is me right before the surgery, this photo.
Right.
Um, yeah, last photographic evidence going into the operation. But even when I was doing like intense rehab, like it didn't really hit me because I think I had in my mind this idea that, oh, like I'll just recover, like I'll just get better, and like I didn't really want to have to put in the serious work. Like
What
I just
did the
thought I would wake
doctor
up
say? What did the doctor say
prior to the operation or like after.
after?
They said, doctors told me that they they definitely think that I would recover, and like I'm young. I was 22 when this happened. So they did think that I would get better from where I was, but like they could not definitively give me an answer for how much better I was going to get.
Yeah, you know, Maddie, in my case, I was had my stroke on May 18th, 2018. I just came off a long speaking tour from London and all across England and Scotland and Dublin and
Oh, wow.
Dubai and Australia, 78 days on the road signing books,
Wow.
making presentations. And I flew home to spend my day with my mom and dad. It was Mother's Day. And I went to sleep and woke up fine. I knocked on my mom's door, said, "Do you want some coffee?" Went back in the den and had a stroke. And I couldn't wake. Nope. I couldn't talk. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. Uh, the doctor said I would never read, write, or talk again in front of my kids and in front of me.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so they robbed me of my hope,
Yeah.
you know, so I had to uh, figure out some way to recover because in in my case they gave me no hope at all. So I'm just glad to be able to talk again. That was my life.
Seriously. Yeah,
So
that's crazy. And also amazing about the book tour. That's really cool. And that's something maybe I would like to do one day.
you should do it because I'm telling you, this is a great book. I've
Thank you.
written many books, but this is a great read.
Uh-huh.
And I'm going to shamelessly promote you, if you don't mind.
Of
Because, you
course.
know, well, I take pride. I've traveled all over the world. I spoke to 2.5 million people,
Wow.
6 continents, 70 different countries. And that was my life. This is not only a good book, but the way it's written, story format. I love the stories. I love the advice. There's some little paragraph in each segment, in each chapter that hits you right between the eyes. And I highlighted it. I stole a copy for me.
All
So
right.
I'm telling you, this is a good book. It's a good book to keep on your bedside and read again. Because when I read it again, I read it 2 times this weekend, it hit me different. And that's the mark of a good book. If you read it once and you just get through, but if you read it twice and you can pick something out different every time. So I just want to compliment you. That's you. I think you published too, right?
Yes. Yeah, this is my
But this, I haven't read the first one, but this is a great book.
thank you so so much. I just really hope that everyone who reads it enjoys it. And who know, maybe a speaking tour would be something I should look into. I need to talk to you about that more at a
Well,
later.
we'll talk about it. You know, people say that book signings don't work in today's world, but
Uh-huh.
I did a book sign at 70 Barnes and Nobles
Wow.
in the United States, day after day after day, all sold out, and
Yeah.
it gave me a chance to interact with people I
Right. Yeah, which is like
didn't know,
part of it.
and expanded my audience. So we'll talk about that. Can you see the comments on the screen?
Yes, I can from Paul.
Okay. And Erica,
Erica. Yes, yeah. Thank you, Erica. I've overcome a lot. Just for me, so my stroke primarily affected me in like physical limitations. So while I did originally have like some cognitive deficits um and problems with like my attention and memory, I was able to rehab that much better than I was my like my mobility. So like I can walk. I have a slight limp, but I can walk, and my hand is like probably the worst off. I'm not super functional with my left arm, and I was left-handed prior to this, so that's been
Wow.
like a big struggle, but you
How
know,
much did mindset apply to your recovery?
mindset was everything for my recovery. And as you know, my book is called Fast Forward: The Fully Recovered Mindset. And
Yep.
what that means to me, a fully recovered mindset means not thinking about, like, I used to have this mindset prior or like soon after my injury that like, why did this happen to me? Like, oh, woe is me. Like, this is terrible. Like,
We all
there's
go
no
through
point,
that. We
you
all
know,
go through that. I did it too.
like just thinking
Why
like there's
me?
no point in me putting in the effort, like what the heck, and then I came to this point where I realized like, yes, I can't necessarily do everything like how I used to. I'm not as mobile, or I can't move around as well, but like all of this shouldn't prevent me from living a very full and exciting life. Like I just have to be creative and find different and new ways to do things that I like once used to take for granted and not even give a second thought.
What about goals and dreams?
Goals, I think, are extremely important, especially when it comes to recovery, but even just like your life and anything. Like, I'm a huge goal setter, and I'm sure, as you know,
Me
because you've
too.
read my book,
Yeah.
and I know you are as well.
Yeah.
Being goal oriented, I think, I was very goal oriented prior to my injury, and then after, I feel like that got even more so because I've always kind of been that way, like setting goals and, breaking them down and finding ways to work on them. And I think that that is so important.
Can you tell me about some of the goals you set when you had your stroke?
So after I had my stroke,
Hmm.
my first like big goal and milestone that I wanted to reach was sitting in a wheelchair.
Wow.
Like I said, I was completely paralyzed on my left side. So like I couldn't even sit up without assistance. Like I just had no,
Were you mad?
well, I was so mad, of course.
I
Like
couldn't talk. I could hear everything that was
and
going
you
on.
carried
And
on.
I could only say one for 3 months. That's it. One. But yeah,
But yeah, no, it's I think it's very important, and I'm sure like as you know, like you talk great.
thank you.
So clearly come a long way in like 2 years, even less time.
Yeah. And I had a goal. My first goal was to say, I love you, mom. That was my first goal. And incremental goals were really important to learn how to walk
Definitely.
again. I just learned how, I'm sure sitting up was a struggle.
It was a huge struggle, and like, I was laying in my hospital bed, unable to move anything and like trying to come to grips with that. And like I remember when because I was in the ICU for 15 days prior, or sorry, after my stroke.
That's
And
my grandbaby,
yeah,
Atlanta.
the
That's
like the big thing of that 15-day period was learning how to sit up in a wheelchair. And they would be like, okay, Maddie, like let's practice 15 minutes sitting in here. And I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I was thinking, I'm not going to make any progress or get better if I don't put in this effort and dedicate the time to like try and build up the core strength and everything. So, trying to find ways to keep myself
yeah.
on track. And
Do you, when you first had your stroke, how much did friends support have to do with your recovery?
honestly, a lot, because I was very very fortunate in that I have an extremely strong support system. My family, I'm living at home with my parents right now, which is great because they're able to help me with all sorts of things. Um, but just my entire family, extended family, and I have a lot of friends who have come around too. And, I've just been very, very lucky that I have all these people who care for me. And especially, like, so right when the stroke happened, all these friends, like, of my family, and even just like random people,
Mm-hmm.
cook dinners and like bring them over for my
Oh,
family because I knew that they were so busy watching me in the hospital. And I was hearing that people from all over the world were saying prayers for me and sending me positivity, which I think honestly has had a huge impact on my recovery. Like, I'm Catholic and I'm a religious person, definitely, and I was kind of not as into my faith, like, at the time of the stroke. And then I feel like just hearing that all of these people are sending such positive thoughts and stuff and energy and good vibes and prayers for me, like, really, I think honestly helped a lot with my recovery and contributed to my positive attitude.
Maddie, when I finally announced I had my stroke, and I wasn't ready to own it yet because I just couldn't talk, and
Right.
it was my life was talking. I was a teacher, and I just was devastated. And when I finally announced it that I had my stroke, the outpouring of love, prayers from all over the world, I had not walked away from my faith, but I had set it on the shelf.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's probably how I would put it too.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it just hit me that so many people were praying for me, praying for my speedy recovery, that it was really touching. I cried a lot uh, because I couldn't say anything, but I'm telling you, it helped me get through it. So, how did your routine have a like? Are you routine driven? I am.
I am. Yes. And I think definitely more so routine driven after my injury. Excuse me. Like, I come up with like an effective morning routine for myself to start the day off with some weight bearing, because for me, like I said, I was left side affected. So I'll do certain little exercises in the morning for myself, which will help me get my day off to a good start. And I am working full time now. So
You really?
yes,
What are you doing?
I started working full time in April of 2019, so it's been like a year almost and a half. And I'm a reinsurance underwriter and I really like it. So that's been like, it's been an adjustment getting used to, working a 40-hour plus work week. And to me, like, honestly, I think it's been a great way for me to engage myself cognitively, and like continue to work on all these things that I have to work on, like my detail and my memory and just everything. It's a great way to put all of those skills together.
When I watched your your was on Jerry's show,
Yes.
and I was really intrigued by how you began to travel on your own. So
Oh,
tell me about that. You had to write this down, write that down. What changes did it bring in your life?
yeah. So, just I guess to give a little context for people watching, since my stroke and like I was working really hard on my physical and occupational therapy, my ultimate goal has always been independence. I'm living at home with my parents right now, which is fine because I need to and it's easier. But like my ultimate goal is to be completely independent and on my own. And a first step for that was, in my opinion, was traveling independently. And so for the past like 2 years, I guess, I've started to like really find ways to get places on my own, because I also can't drive right now and I don't want to be dependent on, seeing, oh, can one of my parents take me somewhere? So I learned how to take Uber by myself to get to work, how to take the train to get to work. and to visit friends and stuff and fly on a plane by myself. And you're right. There are certain things that I need to just like write down to prepare. So I found that when I am traveling, I make checklists. So I'll write down like, okay, say I'm going a weekend to visit my friend and I have to take the train. I'll write down what do I need for that weekend? Like, will I need my bathing suit, pajamas, clothes? Like, I write down all of the things that I need, my Bioness, my leg brace, my splint for my hand at night. And then like I go off of that to make sure that I don't miss anything, because one thing I've realized is that if I don't make these lists and I just say like, oh yeah, like I'll just pack everything like how I used to, like just shove a bunch of things in a suitcase, hope for the best.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily work as well as it used to.
I used to do that too in a different way, but I have been so a proponent of lists, and I had my stroke. What's the list that you used?
I use an app called Google Keep. Have you
Google
heard of it?
Keep. No.
I honestly, okay, I very, very highly recommend Google Keep, and I keep lists on there. Like I'll keep a daily journal in there, but I'll also keep like checklists, and then because you can just check them off once you use it. I highly recommend Google Keep. I keep everything in there because I used to use like the Notes app on my phone,
Me too.
but I think Google Keep is better because you can actually have checklists in it.
Really? So
Yeah.
you can make a list and check it as you go.
Yes.
So that's
Correct.
good. And do you use it for anything else?
I use it for checklists, and then I use it for just like I'll keep like a little journal of like just things that I do. And so that in that case it functions in the same way as like your notes app.
So I'm going to say something to you. Can you tell me one of your favorite stories from post stroke that made an impact on you? Any story in the book that you want to tell?
So since we were on the topic of travel, one of the most impactful moments that I think I've had since stroke was I traveled without my parents. I was with my brother, but like not traveling with my parents to London.
You did. You did.
Yes, and this is actually like about this time last year, so it was October of 2019. I took a little vacation with my brother, and it was the first time that I flew on a plane
Oh,
out of the country since my stroke and without my parents since the stroke. Because prior to that, every single time I'd gone on a flight, which had only ever been like, a couple times to North Carolina, once to California, but within the country. And it was always with my parents. But like I said, I really wanted independence. So I'd been working up to a point where hopefully I would be able to fly on my own. Oh, I see someone. You have to get the app, Google Keep.
exactly. That's
I
she's a good friend of mine. She had a stroke too. She had.
Oh, it's
She's
so
an
helpful.
amazing person.
Definitely check it out, and then let me know what you think if it's helpful to you.
Okay.
Um, but anyway, so I was flying to London. My best friend from college lived there, and then my sister was doing a semester in London. So I was like, okay, I have to go, and I'm gonna go on my own, and it'll be fun.
Hey,
And so
Maddie. Serena wants to know if your book's on Amazon. I'm
it
sorry to
is.
interrupt.
Yes, no, it is. It is on Amazon. Am I able to type what or can you type what the title is?
Okay.
Or I guess we can. Yeah, we can share it.
Well,
It's
I'll
called
just
Fast
put
Forward.
it in the show notes,
Oh,
so it will. Okay. Go ahead.
great. But it's called, here it is, Fast Forward: The Fully Recovered Mindset. And yes, it is on Amazon. So if you end up reading it, I would definitely like to hear what you think.
Write a review, please.
Yes, and write a review on Amazon
Yeah.
because the reviews help get the word out about the book. So thank
Thank
you.
you. So
Um,
continue with your story from London.
yes. So traveling to London, and I'm not gonna lie, I was very nervous going into the trip just because like I said, I'd never traveled outside of the country since I had the stroke, let alone on my own. And I was very nervous for that. And so I took all the precautions, like I mentioned, about coming up with checklists to make sure I had everything. And then I decided whereas in the past, I probably used to be able to like bring luggage onto the flight with me and stow it in the overhead bin.
Yep.
That's not necessarily something I could do anymore just because it would be very hard for me to lift it up and do that. So I knew that I had to check my luggage. So that's what I ended up doing. I ended up checking a bag and just like bringing a little backpack with me onto the plane. But then when I flew to London, got off the plane and got my luggage and everything. And my best friend ended up picking me up at the airport. But I remember just feeling like an overwhelming sense of, wow,
Yeah.
I did that. I got on a plane by myself. I checked my baggage. I got my baggage from the flight. And I just did it all by myself. Like, I want independence. And this is like a great first step. So that was a really like good experience for me.
Did you
Um,
have to think about like streets, like cobblestone streets or anything? I'm sure you had to.
oh yeah. And so here's the interesting part about that. So I was in London, right? And there are a lot of like cobblestoney streets,
Yeah.
like uneven
Yeah.
ground, and it's a little hard. But the good thing for me was thankfully I was always with someone, be it my best friend or my brother, my sister. And my best friend Freddie was very, very good about like, we're walking down the street and then there's a curve you have to step down. He'd be like, do you need a hand, Maddie? And so it was really important for me to like be traveling with someone who understood my situation
Mm.
and was like able was very conscious of my situation and able to help me when I needed it. But the good news is I didn't need too much help. That's my friend on the one on the left of that picture, Freddie, the one in the black
Really?
t-shirt. He's the one that I visited in London.
Aw. I,
Yeah.
I know he was glad to see you. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And actually, believe it or not, I just saw him again when I went in July. I went back to Puerto Rico to see all of these friends. Actually, that's my friend
Really?
Lewis in the white T-shirt, and Freddie is on my right side in the black T-shirt.
Good.
Saw all of them when I went to Puerto Rico in a month, and that was another instance in which I flew independently, but this time it was like completely independently. Like my brother wasn't going with me or my
Really?
sister. Like it was just me
How
flying to
did
Puerto
that feel?
Rico, and I was able to do it. So once again, it was a I'm trying to constantly find ways to push myself and
Hmm.
like try new things. And if a friend is like, "Oh, come visit me," and I'm able to, I'm like, "Okay, this is like a good therapy experience for me."
Can you tell me a little bit about your podcast, please?
Yeah, so
I'm so interested. So tell me.
yes. So this is probably like 2 years after I had my stroke. I
Hmm.
connected on Instagram. I was introduced to this woman, her name is Tawny, by another stroke survivor friend of mine. And he's like, "Oh, you guys should chat. Like, I think you'd really get along." And so we FaceTimed, and for her, it was the first time she had FaceTimed with a fellow stroke survivor.
Really?
And we really hit it off. Like, and she was like, "Oh, I go Instagram live often, and I feel like that has helped me a lot with my recovery. Like maybe we should try doing that and we could talk about our recovery and our journey." And I thought that was a great idea, and I had never gone Instagram live before, so I had no idea what
Really?
to expect or anything. But I said, "You know what, I'll give it a try." We did it, and we've done it every week since.
No way. How long ago did you start?
We started in September of 2019. So it's been a year of going Instagram live, and then we started a podcast off of that, just where we interview fellow stroke survivors. So Paul, I would love to have
Aw.
you on our podcast, interview you. And then if anyone else on here is interested in being on our podcast, It is called Surviving and Thriving, and it is on, well, you can find it in the link in my Instagram bio. But
Okay.
it's also like it's on all the podcast platforms like Spotify, you'll find it.
You're big time.
Surviving, I don't know if I would say that, but
I
maybe one
just
day.
own
Surviving
it.
and Thriving.
Own it.
But
You're big
that's
time.
been
Yeah.
the podcast has been like a really cool way to connect with other stroke and brain injury survivors and just,
Mm.
grow the community and hear the stories of other people. And we all have this common thing, and not necessarily even just with everyone being brain injury or stroke survivors, but we just have this common um, thing of we've all gone through hardships in our
Yeah.
lives. Like I like to hear what challenges other people are going through, and I like to share mine as well, and then we can learn from each other. So it just the podcast has been a really great way to get my story out there and get the stories of other people and the trauma
Exactly.
and hardships that they're facing out there. So it's just been
Somebody
really
said,
powerful.
Jerry said, tell us about your friend, the mermaid.
The mermaid, that's Tawny the mermaid. She's my podcast co-host. Tawny. She
Ah,
is an so her name is Tawny. We go Instagram live together every week, and then we have our podcast. And she's I think 4 years post stroke. So she had her stroke in May of 2016. So she was just a year before I had mine, and she has had a remarkable journey with recovery too, because for her it was mainly a problem of her vision, like her eye was
mm,
turned in because she had an aneurysm rupture,
wow.
and then more like the cognitive deficits with like memory and neuro fatigue. But physically, she didn't have too much going on there. But she's an amazing person, and I recommend everyone on here, if you're interested in connecting with other survivors, Tawny is a great person to chat to, and we chat all the time. Like she's been honestly, like our friendship has been very critical in my recovery. I think just having someone to talk to who understands and not necessarily needing to explain how I'm feeling or like my fatigue, because she gets it.
You
That's why I
know,
love talking to I love talking to other survivors.
me too. I've made so many good friends. Are you familiar with Courtney Runyon?
I'm not sure.
Okay, look up Courtney Runyon, Runyan.
Courtney.
Look up Unicourt, like not um, Unicort.
Okay.
She has an amazing story. She was paralyzed from the neck down. I had her on my show, and she hasn't made a full recovery, but you would love her story. And you should
Exactly.
reach out to him, to her big thing on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
major followers. Her video was viewed, gosh, 2 million times.
Wow.
Mm.
I,
So I think you would love reaching out to her. I'll try
yeah.
to connect
Try
you
to
too.
connect us for sure. And
And
I agree. Like not even like not having made a, so to speak, full recovery. That's like I feel like one of the main things that I've learned since this happened to me is that like we have the unique opportunity to redefine what it means to make a full recovery. I'm not fully recovered in that I can't use my hand and walk around like I used to, but like one, does that matter? And two, I am constantly adapting and learning how to
wow,
live my life in a way that is meaningful to me. So, in a way, like to me, that is being fully recovered. I'm doing my best.
you know, when I had my stroke, I just couldn't see initially getting better because,
Right.
if you wake up and you can't talk at all, and you can't read at all, and you can't write at all, I just needed some way to get a glimpse of progress.
Right. And
My
it's
mother,
hard to like have the motivation continue if you're not seeing like a little bit of progress to keep you moving.
Exactly. My mother sent me a video on YouTube. This man has aphasia and he can talk. As soon as I saw that, I had everything I needed. That's a glimpse of progress. If I and she, if he can do it, I can do it. So I just thank God my mom sent me that
Yeah.
video.
And sometimes
Because
it's just like seeing what is possible. Like you see that someone else can do it. Why can't you also?
exactly, exactly. Bo said you're an inspiration, Maddie.
Thank you, Lorice. Thank
Yeah,
you,
Bo is her nickname, Bo.
Bo.
And Eric Costello said, I'll share my story. So, how
I
do
would
you
love
get
it.
in touch with, how do you, um,
Yeah, if you want, definitely, I would love to hear from all of you. And if you want to share your story on our podcast and stuff, the best way, I'll be honest, to get in touch with me is through Instagram, not Facebook, because to be honest, I don't really use Facebook unless it's something like this. Like we're
mhm.
doing the our conversation on here, but Instagram is the best way to reach me. But so my Instagram is Maddie Stroke of Luck. And I'm sure
Oh,
Paul can put that in the show notes. It's Maddi Stroke of Luck,
I
all
will
one word.
do. Okay.
Um and that's the best way. But I mean if you're not on Instagram or whatever, on Facebook too, I might not be as quick to respond.
Okay. And so, Maddie Stroke of Luck, I'll do that in the show notes. Maddie, can I ask you probably a tough question?
Sure.
When you get depressed, were you in some way, did you not give up hope, but say, why me? You
Hmm.
know, people do that, but did you do that?
So I had a little phase definitely where I was a little depressed and down on myself, but I guess maybe fortunately for me, I've always kind of been like a more positive outlook type person and think
Mhm.
the glass half full. And so my positivity, I think, got even more after I had my injury. I was depressed and down for a little bit, but I quickly woke up and realized
Good.
that I'm not going to get better unless I put in the work and do the exercises and practice sitting in a wheelchair, practice using my cane. Like I'm not just going to wake up one day and be better.
Exactly. You know, I teach practice methods all my life. You know, if you don't practice, you don't get into better. So, how did your habits affect your recovery? You have to get in the habit of practicing. You have
Oh,
to get
definitely.
in the habit of meaning enough that you'll practice.
Hmm. Yeah, habits I think have been very important to me, and I'll I will confess, sometimes I work really hard to build a habit and then like I kind of fall off the bandwagon a little bit, but I'm usually able always to reestablish or establish a new habit that works for me. Like for example, I mentioned that weight bearing is like a critical
Mhm.
exercise for me to do every single day because it really gets like my hands stretched out and gets me on the right track. I made a goal. This was like back in March. I was like, I'm going to do 20 push-ups every day in my weight. So I put on my weight bearing splint, and it's not a full push-up, but like maybe like a half push-up, like not with my legs, but with my arms. And
Mhm.
I've been I don't want to say every single day because I have missed some days where I don't do it, but for the most part, I'm doing 20 push-ups at least 5 days a week. So that has been like a good habit for me. And I think once I get better at that, I'll be able to do even more and maybe even advance to like a full-on push-up, like with my
You
legs.
can do it.
Exactly, right? I mean, why not?
Why not? I say that all the time. Why not? Why not? So, can I ask you a question? We're going to have a conference
Uh-huh.
in April next year. Just consider, would you come and speak at my conference?
I would love to. What kind of conference is it?
Well, we're going to have a 3-day conference for stroke survivors and aphasia survivors at my conference center in Wildwood, Georgia.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Courtney is going to be there too.
All right, let's do it.
And yes, and Jerry's going to be there too, and Salute and all. So we're going to have
gosh,
a
I'll get
party.
to meet all you guys in person.
Yes, we're going to do karaoke. So pick out a good song. Cupid, my friend Cupid, that uh, um, the Cupid Shuffle.
Yes.
You know that?
Yeah.
He's my good friend, and he had a stroke, and people don't recognize that he had a stroke, but he did. So he's going to come and sing and perform. So we're going to have a good time. I think it would be good if you would consider these.
You said it's in April?
April 11th to the 14th. I'll send you the notes.
All right.
That's on my birthday, by the way.
Wait, is your birthday April 11th?
April 14th.
Mine is April 9th.
No way.
Yeah.
Dead middle Aries. We don't think there's anything we can't do.
Exactly. So true.
It's so true. We're stubborn. We'll figure it out anyway.
We'll figure it out. I'll be there. This sounds fun.
You. I think you would be a great addition to the speakers that we going to have. So it would be good. Oh, Brad, I know you're going to be there too.
All right. Hi, Brad. I hope to meet you and see you there then.
He's a Notre Dame fan.
Oh, okay.
I know. LSU.
Oh, you're
LSU. Oh, and one thing. April 21 is your birthday, Brad. I didn't know that.
Is it really? April 21 is my uncle's birthday and my college roommate's birthday.
No way.
And Brad's birthday.
And Brad's birthday. Wait. April. Happy birthday, Maddie. April 9th. Paul, April 14th. Yes.
Aw, thank you, Salud. Yes.
Salute is amazing.
Will Salud be there too?
Salute is going to be there. I'm going to drag her. If I have to get her all the way from California. And she is the most wonderful caregiver I've ever met. She takes care of Tom so well. We pick at her, poor Tom, but.
Aw. I know. I hope to meet you all. This is so exciting. Something to look forward to. And
everybody's going to have their book, and we're going to set up a little display of everybody's book. And it's going to be so much fun. This is a beautiful place. It seats about 250. It's on the brow of Lookout Mountain in Georgia. And it's just a beautiful place. That's what I did before I had my stroke. So I'm going back to reclaim my retreat.
So it's going to be a 3-day conference
for
stroke survivors?
Yes.
All right.
And stroke survivors and aphasia.
Yes.
A few people from my past that have Parkinson's is going to be there as well. But we're going to have a good time. All organic food, good food. And so we're going to have a good time. So let me ask you this, Maddie. If you didn't have depression just a little bit, what advice would you give to somebody that's going through this, to how to pull yourself up, how to focus on your goals? Did you use affirmations or anything?
I did, yes. So affirmations were a big thing for me, but I think even more so than that, for me at least, was, and I've said this before, documenting my progress, because it is hard when you're living in the day to day to, see that you're making progress. It's easy to get bogged down and think like, I'm not getting any better. But if you
Hmm.
document photos, videos, then you can look back. And this is what I do all the time. When I do find myself like kind of in a negative or depressed moment, I can look back on like pictures of myself. Like I'll see myself in the hospital,
Yes.
me when I was in rehab, and think like, oh wow, like remember when you couldn't even sit up in a wheelchair? Remember when you had a cane?
Perfect.
Like now look at you. So much has happened, and I just oftentimes forget.
Maddie, when I recorded my first video, June 21st after my stroke, it took me 118 takes
Oh my,
to do a minute, a minute.
wow.
And
So
I have,
that's
I
incredible
have
progress.
all of that. And I've recorded a video every day since. I
Oh my God.
on
Wow.
YouTube. My whole stroke story is YouTube chronicled, and it gives people a lot of hope. Many people are using my work to show my videos to speech therapists to other
Huh.
aphasia victims. So I believe charting your progress is so important. So
It
you
is.
can look back and say, well, it took me 118 takes to do this video. I would have never done a live video a year ago,
Yeah,
but
you can
I'm
look
doing
back
it
and look back on that first video that took you 118 takes, and then look at us now. We're having a live conversation, and
exactly.
it's been way longer than a minute long. So,
We document, uh, it's documented good ones. Anything that you can do to document your
it's
progress
so
is
important.
important.
Exactly. And I think that's like the biggest like thing in terms of recommendations that I could give to someone, because that has helped me so much. And then maybe just one other quick thing is
Sure.
regarding mindset. I One of my good friends who I connected with after my stroke, he told me obstacles are opportunities. And you'll see that all over my book and all over
Yeah.
my blog. Obstacles are opportunities, but it's true. You can have, and maybe it's not, maybe you didn't have a stroke, maybe you didn't have a brain injury or aphasia, but you have some other type of challenge going on in your life. Whatever it is, there is 100% a way to turn that obstacle into an opportunity and turn it into something beautiful. And that's the unique opportunity that we all have, is to turn our challenges into something impactful and beneficial and positive for ourselves and others.
Turn our scars into stars. I like to
Yes.
say, uh, if you have an adversity, turn it into challenge. It creates opportunity, and you can act on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I completely believe in loss is lesson.
It
If you
is.
have a loss, it brings a lesson. If
Loss is
you
lesson.
if you take it and ask better questions, proactive questions, empowering questions, you can turn that loss into a lesson for future um, learning. So it's so good that you are providing this kind of insight. And how do you do your affirmations? Do you do it every day or think about it every day, or what do you do?
I have one affirmation that I say to myself every single day. Like when I wake up in the morning, I say, today is a beautiful day to be alive. Today is a beautiful day to be alive. And it's a beautiful day to be alive because the world is my oyster to some extent, like I can make this day whatever I want. And
You can.
I'm committed to working on my, excuse me, I'm committed to working on my recovery. And it's a great day to do that.
Jerry said, have to go. Paul and Maddie, great job, both of you. I'll watch it.
When the contractor's
Bye,
done.
Jerry.
All right. Have a
So,
good day, Jerry.
you know what? I believe that we have the ability to inspire people just by being present, being
Mm-hmm.
intentional, being authentic, and being aware. It's so when for me, I just wanted to get back to talking. You know, it was
Right.
a simple thing, but it wasn't simple. I had to relearn every single phase of talking. I couldn't even make a syllable. So it's just relearning to talk at age 61, but you can do it. And
You
anybody
can
can
do
do
it.
it. Exactly. So, what would you say to somebody that has not developed the practice habits, has not taken upon themselves to get up, do the work, and go forward? What advice would you give them?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
It's
would say
stuff.
one, don't be too hard on yourself because we have good
Mm,
days and we have bad days, and then just take it day by day and do what you can and appreciate every moment that you have and don't take it for granted.
exactly. I say to my audience, 86,400 seconds. That's the
Yes.
number of seconds in a day. This
Mm-hmm.
day is to be cherished, and I can do anything for this day. For this day, I can make it be what I want it to be. If I greet people with love in my heart, if I greet people with kindness, if I share my joy instead of letting people steal my joy. And I say to people all the time, sometimes you get on the struggle bus,
Mm-hmm.
but when you get on the struggle bus, when it comes to the first stop, get off.
Exactly. And you can make it, you can turn your struggle into something good. It's all just about how we look at it.
It is. Well, any other affirmations that you really love?
Um, I mean, I also, that's the one I say to myself every day, but then some days I like to do, I don't know if, are you familiar with the rose and the thorn?
Yes.
I do. I like to give little roses and thorns for myself, like kind of as I go, like today, a rose of this day is having this conversation with you, Paul,
Thank
and
you.
connecting with all these other survivors. This is a rose. Um, thorn is I'm feeling not that motivated at the moment to do some of my rehab exercises, but hopefully I'll be able to talk myself into doing that.
You know, some days I get up and I don't feel like it, but
Right.
um, the the main thing I learned is when I don't feel like it is when I really have to do it.
Exactly. That's the thing. Days that you feel like you don't want to, that's probably when you really need it and it's going to help you the most.
Exactly. And what did Bo say? Let me
I
see.
missed it. It says, yes,
Yes,
you can.
you can. Practice, practice. And Salud says we choose the opportunity bus.
I love that, Salute. Yes, we're on the opportunity bus right now. Fortunately,
Exactly.
something.
And Alan said thanks. And Serena said you sometimes you don't realize your progress right away. That's exactly right.
Exactly, which is why it is important to document it, like we were saying.
Exactly. So, one other thing, what's the most difficult thing that you had to deal with coming out of the stroke? Was it learning to that you could recover? Was it learning that taking it step by step? Was it learning that you had to do it 1% better every day, what was the most challenging thing for you?
That is a good one. I think this is a tough question. Setting big goals for myself, like, oh, I'm going to walk without the cane. Oh, I'm going to
Mm,
use my hand to put my hair up in a ponytail. Like
mm,
setting big goals, but then like the logistics of breaking it down into smaller steps, I think is the
yes.
challenging part. Because it's easy for me to think up these like grandiose things. Oh, I'm going to walk without a cane. Okay. But then, so break it down. What does that entail? What do I have to do to be able to get to that point? That for me is the hardest. But I think like my physical therapist and all the people, my support network, that they've all been extremely helpful for me in finding ways to do that.
You know, I didn't even think about it, like putting your hair up in a ponytail.
It's
You
tough.
know?
It's something that I practice a lot.
Really?
Yep. Oh,
Wow.
I can show you how I do it.
Please.
So I use my strong hand to gather up the hair, and then I use my effective left hand as like the stabilizer while I put the tie on with my good hand.
Yes.
And then I need to wrap it around again. So I do the whole thing. Now I wrap it around again. So really, I mean, my good hand is doing the most work, but I'm also involving my left hand. There
You
we go.
know, I am so glad we did that because, I'm for me, it was just when I was watching you, it just tells me how much work you had to do and how much work other people have to do that is a stroke survivor. And we are strong people.
Exactly. Yes, we are.
And we don't give up and we don't uh, quit.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you don't give up, don't give out, or don't give in, you can win. And just have a good attitude, have a progressive attitude. My my belief is that everybody that has a goal, has a dream, can do anything. You be you.
Mm-hmm.
Understand who you are, and I can tell this book you understand who you are. Be unique. You're a unique person, Maddie,
Thank
and
you, Paul.
stay true to yourself. And I think you do that in every way. And I am really, really proud of you. So let me until next week, I hope you'll be blessed, everybody. And thanks for tuning in. We had the show all the way through and people engaging with you. Thank you, Maddie.
Yes, I encourage everyone to connect with me on Instagram and whatever.
And we put the show notes so it got it and made the speech be with you because you never know when you're going to wake up and it's not.
Exactly. May the speech be with you.
So, closing comments for you.
Mm, I guess closing comments, be positive, keep your head up and keep moving forward. I also like to say my like typical closing comment is onward.
Oh,
We
thank you.
continue on.
And my closing comment, if you'll say it with me, hope is
Hope,
on the way.
hope is on the way.
Thank you, Maddie. And if you'll hang on for a
Sure.
few seconds, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. We had a wonderful time today on Labor Day. Thank
Yes.
you
Yeah, happy
for
Labor Day.
taking your time and have a nice day. Bye for now.